And oh, by the way, if you can't, we'll hire you for your traits and we'll train you on the skills. So,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I could take somebody who had these 10 attributes
yeah.
and we could probably have them lead anything.
Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Ramsey!
Marshall, great to see you again.
You too, and I must say, you have a very healthy tone.
Don't I, though? I have let's pull back the curtain a little bit. I've got a little light over my camera.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Watch what happens to this LED light when I change it.
Oh, yeah.
I look ghastly.
Yeah, that's the Ramsey I know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that pasty fellow that I know.
Yeah, that George Clooney tan thing. I was kind of throwing me there for a second.
Oh.
And the Superman spit curl right in the forehead. I think that's
I do have that. I don't. That's like a new thing in my world. Like,
Hey, it worked for Superman.
Well, I will tell you what happened is when I got married, when I got engaged, my wife at our first Valentine's Day, she got me a Valentine's gift, which was hair product, which I had never had before. So it was sort of the classic, I love you, now change.
Yes.
And that's what I've done. And she was right. It did really help my hair not look like just a gigantic Brillo pad, which is what it basically is. So
was that before or after she secretly started throwing away your old man clothes?
There's no secret about it. She one time she said to me, "Where did you get that shirt?" And I said, "You don't like it?" And she said, "It looks like something I'd talk my grandfather out of wearing." Which is, that's really like a knife with a twist, Anyway,
yeah,
she's a wonderful lady, and she's usually right.
Yeah. I'm glad she's drug you into the 21st century, both wardrobe and hair product wise. Yeah, very nice.
So speaking of being drug into the present day, you've drug us into the future many times with a little thing we like to call Chat GPT, a little bit of artificial intelligence, and you've fully embraced it. I have yet to fully embrace it. I'm not sure that I'm beginning to wonder if in 2 years' time will we even have access to some of the stuff that we have access to in terms of what ChatGPT has hoovered up into its banks that might be copyright protected in other ways. And we may be in a little window here, kind of like we were with Napster in the early days, where all music was free forever. It's wonderful. So with that being said, it's generated some pretty interesting stuff for us, and you have asked it a question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the only reason I asked it a question was because I had no idea. So I'm like, I'm out of ideas. Maybe I should ask if only there was an entity in the world that had read every book ever written on leadership and coaching and team building. What if I could talk to that being and it would share with me the summary of what it has learned, having read everything on the planet that's been written on the topic. And so fortunately we have such a thing, right? The artificial intelligence, in this case Chat GPT, but there are many of them now, from Google's Gemini to Meta's AI. I mean, they're everywhere now. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we have a limited window of exposure. Like, these things are going to get put behind paywalls, and there's going to be, there's already lawsuits to limit what they can and can't do. But right now, it's all there, buddy. So in keeping with the theme of our podcast, or what is often the theme, I just asked Chat GPT. I said, "Hello, Cyberdyne Systems. Can you tell me, what advice would you give a new manager?"
Okay.
And I have to admit, all right, so one of the things that happens with AI is it cranks out a response, but you get to decide what you do with the response. And so, I asked it the question, what advice would you give a new manager? And it cranked out the response. And because I wholeheartedly agree with everything it said, I'm going to share it with you. So, yeah, if it was all, it was like, that's nothing like I thought it was going to be. Yeah, we throw that in the trash. Ask a different question, But in this case, it's frighteningly affirmative as far as what we've been talking about here. So,
fair enough.
Excuse me. There's 10 of them. We won't dive real deep into them, but just to give you a sense. And I believe they're in order. They may be actually be in order of importance. And so, first advice that the artificial intelligence, our silicone overlords, would give to a new manager would be build relationships. Right? Take time to get to know your team members, understand their strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. Strong relationships based on trust and respect are the foundation of effective leadership.
Well, you know what? We'll be talking with a client we have in a few weeks, Mike, and I know we'll be talking about, what's more important, relationships or results. And if you tease that out enough, of course we need results, or otherwise we wouldn't show up for work. We wouldn't have a paycheck, but it's the relationship that leads to the results.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're not responsible. It's Simon Sinek, right? You're not responsible for the results. You're responsible for the people who are responsible for the results. That's as right. The manager.
That's right.
So yeah, that one. And we start all our workshops off, the majority of our workshops off. The very first one is giving people tools and a role play and an experience about how to build relationships.
That's right.
We're geniuses.
We are AI competent.
Right. We're going to have to change the name of the podcast. The number 2, are you sitting down?
I'm
Communicate
ready.
Clearly.
I don't understand.
Oh, yeah. Well, he says trust. He says establish open lines of communication. Be clear about your expectations. Provide regular feedback and encourage your team members to share their thoughts and concerns.
Sure.
That's the second workshop we always put on. Like, wait a minute. Yeah, we actually teach a system for people to do this, do it consistently, to address, their bright spots, their opportunities, to pull their thoughts out of them, to get them to share their concerns and to build trust.
Yeah, and the way we teach doesn't have to be the way, but it is certainly a way. And the genius of a way is that there's always a forum. There's always going to be this expected moment where we will have two-way communication. So there it is. We're 2 for 2.
Yeah. Number 3, delegate effectively.
Now, all right. You go ahead and read what they say there, but I have a quibble with their wording there.
Trust your team by delegating tasks and responsibilities. This not only empowers your team, but also frees you to focus on higher level strategic work.
All right. I agree with all of that. I just think that effectively is a little bit of a weasel word, don't delegate uneffectively, like that would be bad. So delegate effectively. Well, yeah, we're with you, Sherlock. But yeah, that's a real art. And in fact, you have a whole workshop dedicated to that. In fact, I would argue you basically have 2 workshops dedicated to that when you think about them back to back.
Yeah, we do. We talk about delegation and we talking about empowerment,
exactly.
Subsets of the whole thing. Exactly. But yeah, well, and maybe our virtual overlord is saying by delegate effectively, we do meet a lot of managers who delegate, but they never let it go.
Yeah, that's right.
They delegate, but here's the 10 steps I want you to follow and don't deviate from them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So yeah, there's attempts at delegation that fall woefully short.
Yeah, you're going to have to, and frankly, you need a couple workshops to be able to do it well. I mean, it's a difficult valley to cross.
Oh, yeah. And it takes tremendous confidence on the part of the manager to be able to let things go.
That's right.
And so, there's a number of things that have to happen for that to be effective.
You know what would help being able to delegate effectively? If you had a trusting relationship with the people that you were delegating to and you communicated effectively with them. It's almost like these are in order.
Yeah. Like maybe 1 and 2. Number 4, lead by example.
Yeah. 100%.
Model the behavior and work ethic you expect from your team. Your actions set the tone for your team's culture and performance.
I that is a must. Like that, nothing can happen if you don't have that. I
Oh
agree.
yeah, yeah. The cognitive dissonance when your actions don't match your words,
Right.
yeah, just paralyzes an organization. And we
Yeah.
knew this when we were little kids, right? Right. Don't do as I do. Do as I say. Even
Mm-hmm.
kids are like, that ain't working for me.
Yep.
And then John Wooden's quote, right? Your most powerful leadership tool is your own personal example.
That's right.
That's just so well said. Number 5. This one's kind of interesting. Stay organized.
Okay, you could go a lot of directions with that. And I personally, at HipSocket, we say wrestle and grow more organized, confident, and influential. I'm totally on board with it. What kind of organization are they talking about?
Keep track of tasks, deadlines, priorities. Good organizational skills help you manage your workload, ensure nothing falls through the cracks.
Okay, fair enough. So that would fall into, I would argue, time management as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's all about time management. Prioritizing what's important, managing your calendar.
Yeah.
There's just many things here, and I think it goes back to the last one, which is lead by example. How can I
Yeah,
expect my team members to be organized if I'm all over the place?
that's right. That's right. Okay.
Yep. So number 6, our last episode, we talked all about this. Be open to feedback.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Welcome feedback from your team and your peers. Continuous improvement is vital to, and being receptive to constructive criticism shows you're committed to growing as a leader.
And growth is kind of the key there. I do like that that's a completely separate entity from communication.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, they are very much related. If you're going to communicate with somebody, you need to be ready to hear some things that you don't want to hear, and negative feedback, constructive criticism might, be in that ballpark. So I think that's a huge one. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and it goes back to lead by example. Can I role model?
Yeah.
Openness, willing to grow, have that kind of mindset. And if I'm welcoming constructive feedback, it makes it easier for your team members to welcome constructive feedback.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's all kind of in there. And then this one's interesting. All right, number 7, focus on development. So in this case, invest in your team's growth and development, provide opportunities for learning, skill building, and support their career aspirations.
Fair enough. And it's similar to what we talked about in our last podcast again, that just being open, being ready to, willing to learn and say that I've got more to learn about this is key. So I'm on board with that. That's great.
Oh yeah. Well, and when you talk about, especially in this day and age with the new millennials coming into the organizations, the misnomer is they want to start at the top. They don't want to start at the top, but they do want to know that you have a plan to help them grow and learn and eventually get someplace, wherever it is that they might want to go. So having a development plan, having a path, whatever you want to call it, a learning, guideposts, milestones, whatever it might be, is vitally important when it comes to being a new manager and leading a team.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right, number 8. You're going to love this. Stay positive. Maintain a positive attitude, especially during challenging times. Your optimism can motivate and inspire your team to overcome obstacles.
We didn't talk about this directly in the last podcast where we were talking about being open to growing and knowing that you didn't know everything. But part of the secret there is that the person who is staying positive is able to connect with others, collaborate, overcome obstacles, get creative, have some resilience. And that's a positive minded person because they're saying, I'm open. There's possibilities here. There are things I don't know, and I want to be open and stay curious, like we talked about. So there's very much a connection between the two.
Yeah, we've talked about the heliotropic effect.
Yep.
Right, all living things are drawn towards the light, repelled by darkness. Whether it's positive energy, people lean into that. They want to be around other people who charge them up.
Yep.
And they want to stay far away from people who bring them down and deplete their energy reserves.
Right. Right.
And so yeah, huge, right? We've talked about speed of the leader, speed of the pack,
Yep.
keeping your team above the line. These are all things that we focus on extensively. Number 9, this one's kind of surprising. I didn't know it would be in the top 10. I think it should be. Manage stress.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
learn to manage your stress and maintain a healthy work-life balance. A stressed manager can negatively impact the team's morale and productivity.
Fair enough. And again, this is very much related to the last one because part of managing stress is staying in a positive mindset. That that I'm not out of time. I'm not out of resources. I'm not helpless. There are things I could do. There are things I could learn. There are other options out there that I haven't thought about yet. And example that we've given, I think, on the podcast before. I won't bother telling the whole story, but when a client calls me and says I'm stuck, I don't know what I should do, A or B. A is impossible, and B is something I shouldn't do. So I have to choose between the two, and I'll gently say, what else could you do? And sometimes it really takes them some grinding of the gears before they go, you know, I could, instead of A or B, I could do C. And then the next thing you know, they're saying, or D or E, that just,
Mhm.
it's a brainstorm effect. They've just put their brain into a different place. So being positive takes them out of stress in many cases because it's positive around the fact that there are opportunities and things that could happen. And I'm going to stay open to that and be willing to say, there's more here for me to learn. What else could I do? So I
Oh,
think they're related.
oh no, you're exactly right. And we talk about amygdala hijack.
Yes.
Yeah, when you're under stress, right, your brain goes into hijack, and it's all you're in is it is fight, flight, or freeze. And so when you're stressed and you've allowed that stress to take over, and then now your team is in amygdala hijack because
Right.
they might not even know why you're stressed, but they're with you, right? Your most powerful leadership tool is your own personal example. In this case, you showed them how to be all stressed out. now they're either in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And when you're in that mode, there's no creativity, no problem solving, no collaboration. All the
Yep.
good stuff that's going to take to get you out of whatever the stressful situation is can now no longer happen because you've taken your team to a place that's not beneficial.
That's exactly right. Yeah. There's always another way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I love your idea. Yeah, right. What else can we do?
Yeah.
And number 10, here we go.
Drum roll.
Number 10, reasons or advice you would give a new manager: adapt and learn.
Well, we might be retreading some similar ground here, but I think that's right. That's and adapt is a pretty apt term for our day and age, right? Things are so chaotic and so fast moving that all the positivity, all the openness, all the stress management that we're talking about is probably going to require some on the dime adapting.
Oh yeah. Our NVIDIA chip advisor says be flexible and willing to adapt your management style as you gain more experience and as the needs of your team and organization evolve. Which is fantastic advice, right? What they need in the beginning, maybe in the launch phase or the startup phase, might be different than what they need in the middle. It might be different than what they need for an ongoing success. And then it also says continuous learning is key to a long-term success.
Yeah, I like that. It makes me think of uh, Kaizen, the Toyota principle of continuous improvement, and that's often translated as let's get more efficient in our processes, but it's way broader than that. There are all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of things we could do to improve our organizations and improve ourselves. I I think that I'm trying to think if there's something they've left out of that list that you and I would say, well, you really need to do this. And the things that first came to mind for me were, sort of like really practical vocational skills around whatever it is you do for a living, whatever it is you're becoming a manager of. Um, and that made me think of Seth Godin talking about, there are vocational skills, and then there are what we have traditionally called soft skills. And he says the soft skills, let's start calling them real skills. Like you had a guy that checked all the boxes on the resume for the vocational skills, great. But if you added to that, frankly, the list that we just read, those 10 items, if you knew that he was that kind of an employee, she was that kind of a manager, that person rises to the top of the list immediately out of all those resumes. So it's almost like that was a list of, you need to go get some vocational skills, but here's the list of the real skills, the things that you're going to have if you're going to be in charge of helping people do the gig. So I like the list.
Oh yeah, well, it goes back to the Chick-fil-A 3 C's.
Yeah.
Character, chemistry, and competency.
Yeah.
And they look for the first two, which a lot of this list is the character and chemistry piece, right? Can you interact? How do you interact with your people? And are you leading by example and things like that? And then the competency pieces, yeah. Can you do the technical part of this particular function?
And oh, by the way, if you can't, we'll hire you for your traits and we'll train you on the skills. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah, I could take somebody who had these 10 attributes.
Yeah.
And we could probably have them lead anything.
Yeah. Whatever you want them to lead.
Yeah. We plug them in just about anywhere and they would have success.
Well, I'm glad we did that. I as you know, have AI skepticism built into my system, even though I've used it and realized the power behind it. But that's a pretty solid list. I don't feel like that was unfair in any way. I would love it if our listeners told us what AI left out. If there's anything that you would add to the list, or maybe even take away, change, we'd love to hear it in the comments as you smash that like and subscribe button and do all the things that we always forget to tell you to do. But hey, we'd love to have this podcast spread. So spread the word and feel free to throw in some comments and tell us what's missed. What did AI miss?
Oh yeah, talk about a gift. If you would, if you promoted somebody new to management, just send them this link.
Wow,
that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, how cool would that? What a nice gift that would be. And so, and that's us. We're givers.
We are.
We are generous. Yeah. Speaking of generosity, someone who gave of his time and talent without any compensation whatsoever, and 200 whatever episodes later, still ain't getting a penny. We'll turn it over to our announcer, Mr. John Wolf.
And that's a wrap. It doesn't take a genius. The blog dedicated to reducing the irreducible. Next time, prime numbers. What makes them so special? Join us then. And thanks for listening.
That's good enough.